Mr. Erickson, sir?
What?
House of Chains was great and all, but do you think I could get like a little more direction on where your series is going?
Absolutely not. Do you know what? Since you asked, I'm going to write a prequel.
But Mr. Erickson, it's book 5. If you do a prequel now, how will anyone be able to follow along?
Exactly. Oh yes, prequel time. Book 5, I don't care.
I truly don't even know where to start with this one. I'm in complete awe of Midnight Tides. I bow beneath the god of writing that is Steven Erickson. And I'm quite sure that if there was a Warren for literary genius, Steven Erickson would be the absolute master of it. Midnight Tides is a prequel of sorts. Book 5 in the series takes us back to around the same time or a little bit before the first book is taking place. And boy, is that a little bit jarring. It's a little jarring. But I can't say that I didn't love it. Midnight Tides, after the prologue, it starts kind of softly. It builds itself really slowly. And I'm almost in awe because it's like Steven Erickson's taking you back and introducing you to a whole new cast of characters that you've never met before. There's one character in this book that appears in the previous books, and that is Troll. Everyone else is new. And that in itself is a bold move. You're on book 5, Erickson. Book 5. And you're introducing me to a whole new cast. Book 5. Really? You're really gonna do this to me? But after getting settled into learning, the family dynamics and learning who everyone is, this book is wondrous. Okay, so Midnight Tides is really just this building. It's this building towards a conflict. And there are things happening on both sides of the conflict that ramp things up considerably. I'm not going to go into spoilers here, but what's happening in Heroth for the first quarter of this book absolutely held my attention unlike anything else. One thing I really appreciate about Midnight Tides is that you're not bogged down by the weight of all of these unanswered questions. You're really allowed to just hyper-focus on what Midnight Tides is trying to tell you. It's trying to tell you a bit of history that will apply to the rest of the Malazan series, and that in itself is so cool. Yes, I know a lot of people are going to be like, this is book 5, and this is so jarring to me. But if you stick with it, if you just allow yourself to be enveloped once again into this Gardens of the Moon type setup, it's beautiful. It is so beautiful. I'll talk a little bit about the conflict between Lethras and Heroth. It feels so real. And there's a lot of social commentary packed into this plot, but it's done very smartly. It's not done in a way where Erickson's putting it in your face going, hey, this is what this means. It's done very subtly, where you begin to draw your own conclusions and your own comparisons to the real world. I absolutely loved how Erickson tied in greed to how the Lethari people live and how Lethras as a city functions. It's also tied heavily into the main push of the plot, the main conflict. It's all about greed and how greed can really just destroy you. We all know on the channel that I'm of a mind where the Malazan endings are where it's at. That's truly where the books become Malazan, right? Boy. Midnight Tides has one of the best, not one of, it has the best ending in Malazan that I've ever read. Midnight Tides stays consistent throughout the entire book, and that in itself is very special. It's rare for me to read a Malazan book and love every page of it. But wow, the ending of Midnight Tides, Erickson almost over-delivers. And there were reveals that blew my mind. The delivery on the conflict that is building for this entire book, it feels so well realized. There are so many good character moments packed into the ending of this book. And speaking of characters, this book also has some of my favorite Malazan characters to date. We'll start by talking about Tehol and Bug. Every time I was reading from Tehol or Bug's perspective, I was having an absolute blast with this book. I didn't think Erikson was so funny, but wow, he can really make me laugh. Troll is the only character returning in this book, and you get basically a whole book dedicated to his backstory. House of Chains ends in one way that really makes this story feel needed. And people who didn't like Troll in House of Chains usually say that they come around on Troll in this book, and that makes sense because it is a tragedy, right? It's a tragic story. Troll is basically thrust into a war that he doesn't want to happen. He asks questions about the world around him, and some people don't like that about Troll. He gets himself into trouble sometimes, and he's a very conflicted character this entire time. When it comes to Saren Pedak, I found some of her chapters to be just a little boring, but there's also some really good social commentaries and commentaries on self-reflection in her chapters that I really enjoyed reading. Speaking of boring characters, Udnas I found to be completely dull for the first half of the book, but his story really picked up in the later half of the book, and I'm really excited to see where he goes. And I also love that about Malazan books, is that even though you're given characters that you don't really enjoy, there's always the chance that you're going to enjoy them later on. We'll talk about the world for a little bit, because Midnight Tides really breaks things open. It takes you to a place you've never been before. And I love going to new places in the Malazan world because it's so exciting. And the world building in this book is phenomenal. Getting to learn about the Tistadur cultures and how they bury their dead, and getting to know about Letharas and the greed that envelops that city, which leads them to the conflict. Just all of it was so well done, so well realized. The thing I love most about Midnight Tides is that it starts to make things feel cohesive. So far in the Malazan series, it's been like I've been reading 3 different series, trying to figure out how they're gonna come together. But this is the first book I've read that really felt like it was bringing things close, bringing things in, and pushing in one direction. So my hope for Bone Hunters is that it continues that feeling. It continues pushing all of these plots together until they eventually become one plot that moves forward. I don't know if I'll get that, but I really hope that's what happens. Overall, Malazan really hit its stride with Midnight Tides. I was completely and totally enveloped, and this is the fastest I've ever read a Malazan book. I'm absolutely in awe of this series. I can't stop thinking about it, I can't stop talking about it, and I can't recommend it enough. Yes, it's not for everyone, but Malazan is really one of the best reading experiences I've ever had in my life. So, Book Bros, if you've read Midnight Tides, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I am more invested in the Malazan series than I've ever been, which is why I'm dedicating June 2021 to just reading Malazan. That's it. So without further ado, Book Bros, thank you for watching this video, and I will catch you on the flip side.